over the last few weeks been focusing in on some mid-Asian countries that all end in the word Stan. A little bit of a break from that routine today, though. Steph Johnson from Barnabas Aid joining us on the program. Talking Turkey today, Stephanie.
The country, not the food.
Yeah.
Which I'm a big fan of the food and the country. So
well, both of those things. Why not both? I hear, actually, that in Turkey, the bird turkey is called an American bird, which honestly just makes more sense to me.
Look at me learning something new today. It does actually.
Yeah.
Because it is a
it's
traditional
an American
bird.
It's never been to Turkey.
No.
And if so, it would be made into a delicious Mediterranean salad.
Bring that on.
Exactly. Hey, focusing in on the country though, because I mean this was where the Apostle Paul spent much of his missionary journeys. This was the birthplace of the church in the book of Acts, basically. What's the situation for Christians in Turkey today, though?
We did discuss earlier that is not the birthplace of Borat, so we can get that straight out the gate. But
Borat's not from Turkey.
Yeah, interesting country, because Christianity was so much a part of this country, especially like you said in the New Testament, but also in the Old Testament as well.
Yeah.
So you've got some rich traditional Christian religious roots there. But I think what happened was in the early 1920-ish. The Ottoman Empire kind of forced out pretty much all of the Christians at that time. There was a big religious ethnic cleansing of Syrians, Greeks. Christians in Turkey were just basically obliterated from Turkey. And so now there's less than 1%. It's like 0.02% are Christians. That translates to there's 80 something million Muslim or people living in Turkey and about 170,000 Christians. So that's the kind of, the ratio we're working with. It's pretty low number of Christians still remaining in Turkey today.
The other thing about Turkey, which is, it's kind of got a foot in both camps. If you think of the Dardanelles, it's on the border between Europe and Asia, between Europe and the Middle East, as it were. And actually, it is part of the European community. It's been a part of NATO since the beginning, which came as a surprise to me. It's kind of Western, but not necessarily in its human rights record.
Yeah, I mean that's why I think I wasn't like thinking that they were part of NATO because of how the human rights and the genocide and things like that, and they've had to be kind of reined in quite a lot in regards to just human rights being completely ignored most of the time. And Christians, Christians there obviously are persecuted. It's legal to be a Christian. It's legal to convert to Christianity, but the level of persecution that Christians face in Turkey is pretty high. And not only are they a minority in regards to their religion, they just get treated really badly when they do convert because there's this pride in Turkey about being a Turk, and being a Turk is being Muslim. And so when you go away from that, you go away from what your family and friends all view as being a proper Turk.
Is this persecution mostly within the community for those that convert, or is this some of it government sanctioned as well? Is it possible to open a church in Turkey and to put up a sign to say, hey, come worship with us on Sundays?
Yes, it is possible. Does it happen often? Not very. And a lot of times, churches and cemeteries in the past have been desecrated, Christian cemeteries. So that's quite sad. The other issue that we've seen in the past few years is a lot of foreign missionaries have been kicked out of Turkey. So, and the ones who remain in Turkey are given basically the identity of on the watch list as a terrorist. And so I think in 2022, between 2019 and 2022, around 78. And I'm not talking missionaries who had just gone there for a mission trip. I'm saying these missionaries have been embedded in the community, had raised families and been in Turkey for 20 plus years. All of a sudden forced to flee or forced to leave Turkey. So there is a bit of a crackdown in regards to the government, but it's a very subtle crackdown on Christianity. And a lot of times Christians are looked at as extremists or terrorists even, which, wanting to preach the gospel isn't really well taken there.
You would think that there would be more Western influence there, given the involvement with the European community and with NATO. This is a country that depends on tourism to a large extent for some of its GDP, and yet basically thumbing its nose at I suppose, human rights and freedom of religion. Of course, the president of Turkey, Erdogan, he's very much a strong man. He does what he wants, and he wants to rebuild the Ottoman Empire, I hear.
Yeah, I mean, he'd probably want to rule the world if he could, but getting that strong Ottoman flavor back into the country is something he'd probably be very happy with. At the moment, it's a pretty secular country, but yeah, if it was up to the president, I'm sure he'd have a lot more. He'd have that stretch and that influence a lot farther along.
Yeah. Of course, in the book of Revelation, there is 7 churches in Turkey that we are called to pray for. Now, I won't get lost in the weeds as to whether or not these are metaphors or actual places, although they
don't get too theological on us.
Exactly. They were, of course, actual places where churches used to be. And Jesus himself tells us to pray for these churches. What can we pray for the churches in Turkey today and for the believers?
Well, a lot of believers in Turkey kind of feel like they're being forced underground, similar to churches in China. And so I think one thing we pray is just for them to be strong in their Christian faith, especially when they get so much persecution from mostly community and family members and things like that. And for those who do convert to Christianity, that they wouldn't be ashamed of their faith, that they would be strong in their faith. And also for the government, that we pray for the president there, and that he does have a bigger heart for Christians, and it will remain a free country to be a Christian or anything else you wish to be. So I think those are 3 of the main things to pray for there. And I think it's important for us to pray for Turkey as well. Like you said in Revelation, it asked us to pray for the church there.
Yep.
I think Turkey is one of those places where there's so much history, Christian history there, that, we need to pray that comes back to the country, that people start to come back into Turkey who have fled because of persecution previously. And they will be able to build their churches and make it a strong Christian country again. That's a big wish right there. That's a big prayer, but
well, exactly.
I think God does things when we pray like that. So
big prayers, exactly. Now, if people wanted to be informed about what Barnabas Aid is doing in different parts of the world, and I know that you've got country profiles of places like Turkey and also some other places that we've possibly never heard of, talking about the plight of Christians in that part of the world and some practical tips on what to pray for. What's the connect point for that, Stephanie? How can people find out more?
And just pop onto our website, barnabasaid.org. We have a lot of prayer resources available. We can send you either a paper copy, or you can download the prayer resources as well, which is quite nice. We're also present on social media, Instagram, Facebook. Instagram and Facebook have a daily prayer. So if you really want to be engaged in praying for the church daily, I would pop onto the Instagram or Facebook pages and follow us, and then be a part of that prayer every day for the persecuted church.
And that pops into your news feed. You don't need to set a reminder or whatever. That's a really good way of connecting there. So barnabasaid.org, and then follow the links to the socials from there. Stephanie, thank you so much for what you do. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Andrew.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.